In choosing the topic, the social impact of the Kargil War, we are not merely examining a single war in history and the cause and consequences emanating from it, but we are exploring whether the war, in a world where diplomatic scuffles are omnipresent and armed conflict threatens to break out any moment in time, is truly worth it. Whether the loss of human life, the damage to the economy, the loss of the feeling of safety, etc., bursts any solution to conflict or simply remains an unnecessary toll on humanity.
Despite the ever prevalent discussions among the leaders of the world on how to bring about global peace, the threat of war seems to linger on among the minds of ordinary citizens in the course of daily life. With each diplomatic scuffle and each expression of antagonism among world leaders, the threat of war seems to grow and grow and grow and grow, causing the burden of anxiety and fear among humanity as a whole. The Kargil War, as the name suggests, took place in the Kargil district of Jammu and Kashmir from May to July 1999. It began with the infiltration of the district by Pakistani forces by virtue of the district's strategic placement. Since Kargil falls on a major road, whoever controls the town indirectly controls the road, hence granting the country who has authority over the road the power to limit the opposing country's ability to move supplies and troops along the road, hence giving said country the ability to greater control of the dynamic of the Kashmir conflict itself.
After nearly 3 months of armed conflict and tension, Pakistani forces finally withdrew from Kargil after Pakistani PM Nawaz Sharif met with the President of the US, Bill Clinton, concluding the Kargil War. The effects and aftermath of the war were brutal. The war itself, while successful in evacuating around 2,500 Pakistani soldiers, left a brutal toll on human life. Around 527 Indians lost their lives, with a further 1,363 Indians being wounded. It is said that multiple injured soldiers refused to be evacuated due to the fact that it took 4 soldiers to bring a stretcher for them, putting 4 more soldiers at risk of death or injury. The soldiers, in their attempt to guarantee the safety of a nation, sacrificed their own for what they believed to be the greater good, for what they believed was something worth fighting for what they believed they should give their lives for.
But what happened at the end? Despite such a brutal and avoidable loss to human life and such a burden to our country's resources, the situation after the war remains the same as before the war. Kargil is still under Indian control, and the conflict between India and Pakistan over Kashmir continues to blossom under the power hungry eyes of our leaders, under the greed of politicians who view citizens as pawns in their game of chess. Pakistan gained no further advantage, and neither did India. While we may revel in our victory, the fact of the matter remains that the conflict is still relatively the same after all these years. We haven't celebrated anything real. We have celebrated a mere display of muscle power. Our soldiers have managed to protect us in the most difficult of circumstances. However, our leaders seem to have no regard for all the resources this conflict has consumed and all the lives it has taken and damaged. We have entered a war and come out of it the same as we were before, still shrouded in a prickly fabric of anxiety and fear. This isn't simply limited to the Kargil War and the Kashmir conflict. We see this all around the world. If we trace back to any of the major conflicts of the world, we find that the majority of them still exist to this day, sometimes to an even higher degree than before. The Israel Palestine conflict has been going on for more than a century. The Cold War might be over, but the tensions still exist between the US and Russia. War has occurred, but the world is still rife with conflict and death.
While yes, there are wars across history that have been useful, without which the world would be worse off, the toll these wars cost on human life is unacceptable, and all these conflicts could be much better dealt with in the form of diplomatic discussions rather than armed conflict. War is a futile exercise in dealing with antagonism. It has proven multiple times to do nothing rather than be a cost to human life and safety. and remains nothing more than a show of power, motivated by greed and malice.
We are capable of living in a pacifist world with peace and understanding. But that only comes with the realization that war is futile, that the magnitude of the conflict in question is not worth the cost of human life, that the safety of human beings is far more important than being crowned the eventual victor of a conflict. The realization that the pain caused by the loss of human beings is not worth the spoils of war.